let's go in. Let's talk a little bit about the avodah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh b'derei. I recently had the schos to be the Rosh Weiss from Eretz Yisrael last week, and he shared that there's a terrible misconception with perhaps the most famous Maimer Chazal in Tisha B'av. What's the most famous Maimer Chazal? Kol dar shel yivne beis hamikdash biyamav. Any generation that the Beis Hamikdash is not rebuilt, and what we all think the end of the Maimer Chazal is ki'ilu charav biyamav. It's as if it was destroyed in his days. And we hear speeches and we think about we didn't rebuild it. It's as if in our time it was destroyed and etc. And he points out it's a terrible mistake. If you open up, it's from Yerushalmi and Yuma. And the Yerushalmi Yuma, it's a critical word. It's almost like a tense, a verb that changes, but it changes the whole world. The Yerushalmi and Yuma says, Kol dar shel yivne beis hamikdash biyamav, ma'alin alav ki'ilu hechrivoi, as if you destroyed it. What's the difference? The difference is, we've lived through things in our lives. So we say, in our life, this event happened. October 7th happened in our life. COVID happened in our lifetime. Did I cause October 7th? I hope I didn't cause COVID. Did I cause these issues or even worse things, right? Rahman al-Islam, someone lives through a tzara in his community, in his life. He says, did I cause it? I didn't cause it. I lived through it. Ki'ilu was in my days. And we sort of forgive ourselves. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. Rosh Weiss pointed out, go look at Yerushalmi very carefully. Ki'ilu hechrivoi, which is, it's almost painful to think about. Almost. Is that we're about to have Tisha B'av, and if we go through another Tisha B'av without a Beis Hamikdash, it's as if we're taking, I know everyone has their own picture of what they use to break the Beis Hamikdash. I know every video has their own thing, battering rams, fireballs, whatever it was, and we're lighting it on fire. Whoa, that was like a little bit extreme. Like, okay, I didn't rebuild it. Okay, I could live with myself. I destroyed it. I knocked down the bricks. I went into the Beis Hamikdash. I slammed down the wall. I didn't do that. I'm not so bad. That's what Shalmi says, and it's a startling fact. And the question is, what can we do about it? We're going into Shabbos. Shabbos is called Shabbos Chazoin. What's Chazoin? I heard a beautiful pshat. The Magen Mizritcha says Chazoin comes to the terminology chazu, to see. Shabbos Chazoin is a time that you could chazu, you could see. What does that mean? That means is that throughout the 9 days, going to Tisha B'av, it's a time of clarity. Rav Yisrael Salanter really said it the best. Rav Yisrael Salanter said the following line. He said, Yes, yesh esav shariot. There's the possibility, lehitalot beruchnius, to elevate yourself spiritually, b'Tisha B'av, loy pachlis, no less, mimasha adam misugal, that which you're able to do, lehitalot, to elevate yourself, b'yom kippurim. That's extreme. We know Yom Kippur is wow, Yom Kippur, right? Yom Kippur is white. Yom Kippur is Melech, Malchus is Rosh Hashanah. Then Yom Kippur is clarity and Elah, Hashem Elokim. We walk out clean. Yishmak. Tisha B'av, Shabbos Chazon, Chazu. We could see on Tisha B'av. Tisha B'av is a regel. Tisha B'av is a yomtiv. We don't say Tachlon on Tisha B'av. Tisha B'av is a time of incredible closeness to Hashem. Where's the closeness? Because when we think about what we don't have that brings the ultimate desire to be close to that person, which brings the ultimate kirva. Rahman al-Islam, if there's a couple that goes through challenges and they separate, the longer they separate, if there's anything left of the marriage, the more deep down they want to get together. And it builds stronger and stronger and stronger. Why? Because when we don't have it, it's I want to get back there. I want to get back to go even deeper. Shimshon Pincus brings down the mashal. If someone had a marriage with children, and then unfortunately there's a separation, maybe with the spouse there's challenges, but the children, he can't wait to see his kids. He can't wait to get back together. When a Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't have his house, when Hashem is without the Beis Hamikdash, We're so distant, we're so far. Hashem is missing his children. We're not there with him. So that realization, that darkness, that brings the ultimate clarity. Shabbos Chazon, you go into a Shabbos, preparing that Avada on Shabbos. You're sitting with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and when you're sitting with Hashem, you eat. Doesn't make a difference. So much so, we know that in years that Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbos, what do? We have regular Shabbos Sudais. How can you eat today? Today the base of it is being destroyed. No, Shabbos. Shabbos has different rules. Shabbos, we know there's no teva on Shabbos. Shabbos is the day of Hashem. So when Tisha B'Av is the next day, it's the same thing. It's almost bizarre. You go into Tisha B'Av, you're allowed on Shalosh Shabbos, you're allowed to have a fleshig Suda. It's bizarre. I don't understand. In 5 minutes, what are we going to do? On 5 minutes, we're going to be sitting on the floor. On 5 minutes, we're saying Eicha. 5 minutes, we're realizing there's no Beis HaMikdash. 5 minutes, we're having a very intense fast day. And what are we doing now? We could be sitting down to Azaz Suda with meat and wine and all the... How does it make any sense? It's because it's Shabbos. In Shabbos, there is that ultimate kirva with Hashem. So you go into Shabbos Chazayin and you go into a time of chazu, of vision, of clarity, that yes, you can actually see right now the right way. A mashal that I heard many, many years ago, I thought about it. I was trying to remember if I ever shared this with the Eilim over here. I don't remember. If I did, I apologize. I don't like sharing the same thing twice. If you remember, then you can let me know. It's a beautiful, beautiful mashal. A friend of mine shared with me, he was one of these really outdoorsy, hiking and kayaking, canoeing type of guys. Take his backpack and just like go for weeks. And one time he's with another friend, and they're canoeing, and he and his friend each are on a single canoe, and it starts pouring. Now we all know the one thing you don't want on the water is rain. It's pouring outside. It's sometimes on the road. It gets so heavy you can't see. He said he's in the middle of this ocean. It's pouring. It's pitch black. There's no lights around. He couldn't see. The problem is you got to get off the water. Why? Because one bolt of lightning that hits that water and it's all over. It's pachad b'chadim, right? If someone is in a swimming pool, you got to get out of there, right? Because the lightning can strike. Yeah, what's the chances of lightning? We're not going to take that chance, right? So he's going. The problem is he couldn't find where the side was. He didn't know where to go. To go right, to go left. Well, where's the side? He said all of a sudden he hears the thunder. Now he's getting really scared. And then there's a break in the sky. And the sky lights up. And the first instant is you're super scared. And then he sees, wow, everything's lit up for that split second. And he sees, the outline of the land over there. And all the way over there, an outline of land. And he and his friend, yell at each other. They're going that way. And they start to direct there. And he said a few minutes later, he was actually hoping for another bolt of lightning. Why? I could kill you. Because that was the only thing that gave clarity. That was going to save his life. It might kill you, but then again, if he stays here, he's going to drown. He can't get off the water. Chazu, clarity. Tisha B'Av is a time that could bring with that ultimate darkness, with that distance from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with that realization Hashem doesn't have his house. You know what it could bring? It could bring incredible clarity. There are moments at times, whether it's in the middle of Eicha sometimes, you're sitting on the floor and you're listening to Eicha, whether it's in the middle of Kinnis, you're sitting there, there's no one else in the world when you're sitting there on the floor. Yeah, there are other people there. There's no one else there. We know the Sudam Hafsekis, which this year doesn't really exist, but the Sudam Hafsekis, we know you sit on the floor by yourself. And even if someone is sitting right next to you, the halacha is, you don't make him a zumin, because he's not right next to you. There's not a time, you're not with anyone else. You're sitting on the floor, you're in your own little bubble. And sometimes when you go into that bubble, you're sitting on the floor and you're hearing Eicha. Maybe you're reading Kinnis, or maybe you're just reading an English publication of something, or maybe you're hearing a shir, maybe you're singing a niggin, maybe you're sitting on the floor and you're singing. And sometimes when you're in your own little world and there's no one else there, and you could just go into yourself, you could go a little bit deeper into your own neshama. At that moment, sometimes you have this lightning moment. You just have a bolt when you're trying to be real and you're trying to be serious and you're trying to say, we have no Beis HaMikdash. Why do we have a Beis HaMikdash? Kilu hachrivo. It's if I'm breaking the Beis HaMikdash. Why? Why is that true? Why is that true? What did I do wrong? Oh, you know why? What can I do different? And sometimes throughout Tisha B'Av, there are moments that we realize, Kilu hechrivai. It's as if we could picture that scene. We could picture the scene that we have a massive Beis Hamikdash, Hashem Shechina is there, and all of a sudden we're walking up, we're the enemy, and we're going up with the hammers, and we're going up, and we're breaking down the walls. And what are you doing? We're destroying the Beis Hamikdash. And that way, you pause for a second. Pause. We don't want to do that. We don't want that. So what could we do to not do that? That's the clarity. That's the chazoo that Tisha B'Av could bring. And that's when you have ashes and it's burning and burning and burning, and it's been burning for so many thousands of years. And when the fire goes down and down, you look at the fire pit after it burns, what's left? Those little glistening coals. And you sometimes think, what could those little embers do? Could it do anything? Really? And sometimes you even like you forget it's hot. And you could like get close to it and you think like, yeah, I'll just pick it up and whoa, it's burning hot. And then what happens sometimes? There's a little wind, and the embers flare up. That's Tisha B'Av. Is you have those ashes, you have those little glistens, you have a little heat left, and then all of a sudden in Shabbos Chazayin, you have the chazoo, you have that vision, you have that clarity. You go into Tisha B'Av and you become a little bit more real, and you realize that wait, it's if I'm destroying it, and you go sit on the floor by yourself, and you ask yourself, what can I do different? Yes, me. If Chazal taught me kilu achriva, it's if I destroyed, that means I could do something different. And then you could have that lightning bolt moment, and the whole world could light up, and your whole life could be seen in front of you. And in that moment, you say, I need to make that change. Or sometimes you don't even know what the change you need to make is. Sometimes you just know that there's certain areas. Maybe there's like a lightning bolt moment that this area of my life, that's an area that's, that's not a Beis Hamikdash area. That's not the right area. That's not the right area. And that's the clarity that Tisha B'Av can bring. But really, if you want to just go one step deeper for a moment, we have to really think for a second, why do we really want the Beis Hamikdash? It's a scary question because we all say, yeah, we want Mashiach, we want Beis Hamikdash, we want to get out of this decrepit place called America, and let's go to Eretz Yisrael. Really? Really? Are we all ready to give up our whole lives and sit and learn Kehillah for the rest of our life? Are we holding, there you go, are we holding at that place? Are we ready to live a ruchnius existence? So it sounds a little bit daunting sometimes. So I want to make it a little bit simpler. What changed between when there was a Beis Hamikdash and when there wasn't a Beis Hamikdash? So I want to give one mashal what changed. And Rav Shimshon Pincus says, when you have a chasana, let's say the waiter, for some strange reason, the waiter was, an interesting waiter showed up that day. You know who the waiter is? The waiter is some millionaire that was dared to be a waiter at the wedding hall that day. Okay, interesting. Or maybe the photographer was like this massive Rosh Hashiva that's like, it's a, publicity stunt. He's being the photographer. Who at the end of the day determines what's going to be served at the main course? The chassan, the people making the chasana. It's irrelevant. Every other person, you could have the most wealthy, guest list. They could all be there, all the billionaires in the world, but the chassan decided, you know what? I'm serving a piece of dry chicken. They can't change anything. Give all the money in the world, and that Mr. Billionaire can walk to the kitchen, say to the chef. The chef says, "You're not in charge tonight." Rav Shimshon Pincus explains to us that when we had the Beis Hamikdash, you know what changed? Changed is Hashem was the chassan. That everything in this world revolved around HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Everything. In our lives now, sometimes, yeah, Hashem is with us. Yes, we try to do a lot of things. Is he the chassan? Is he calling the shots? 100%. Or is he maybe that real big billionaire, but he happens to be the waiter? So we talk to him and we schmooze with him, but like, is he calling the shots or are we calling the shots? Beis Hamikdash means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is calling the shots 100%. Now that might sound scary. And in reality, that is the world we live in. It's just the world we live in has darkness that covers it all over. So it might sound scary. But let me explain very simply why it's the greatest existence in the world. Because the most challenging thing, more than poverty, more than childlessness, more than lack of shidduchim, more than bad health. The most challenging thing in this world is sveikas, doubts. Amalek is sveikas, is doubts. One could have no money if you were to know, if you were to receive a letter signed by God saying, this is your job on this world to live with poverty, you'd be fine. Someone could have no children, Rahman al-Islam. But if he one night had a vision for real and he saw Hashem saying to him, my child, you're a reincarnation of this and this tzaddik, and the reason you're on this world is what? Is just to live a life of simcha without kids, he could do it. One could have all the Yisurim in the world. If he knew that it was his job, it would be easy. The challenge is we don't know what our job is. There's no nevuah, there's no Beis HaMikdash, there's no clarity. What Beis HaMikdash does for us is it brings clarity. When Hashem is the chassan, when Hashem is the center of all existence, there's no longer a question, should I do this or should I do that? Should I do this business deal or that business deal? Should I lie and cheat a little bit or should I not? Should I learn a little bit more? Should I learn a little bit less? A little bit more bitachon, a little bit more shtadlus, a little bit more tefillah. What do we do our whole lives if we think about it? The biggest thing that weighs us down is ourselves. It's the I, it's the me, it weighs us down. Why? It weighs us down because we're just not 100% sure exactly what to do at every moment. In Meretz Hashem, when we have a Beis HaMikdash, there'll be nevuah. We have a shayla, you call up a Rav, and the Rav tries perhaps to suggest, to help, to whatever. Maybe you get to sit by a bigger Rav or a bigger Gadol or a bigger Talmid Chacham, and you go even to Rav Chaim Kanievsky. At the end of the day, it's not Hashem, it's not nevuah, it's not the Urim V'Tuvim. The Urim V'Tuvim, should we go to war? It lights up. Hashem talks to us. The world of Beis HaMikdash is a world of perfection. It's a world of clarity. It's a world without sveikos. In that world, it's true. Are we ready to give up all physicalities? Maybe not. It's true. Are we ready to leave everything behind and jump on the wings of eagles and fly away? Maybe not. It's true. Do we have really big issues? And maybe within the final redemption, we're going to be caught. Are we going to make the cut? We're not sure. But there's one thing that we can be absolutely sure about, is that when Hashem is the chassan, when the Shekhinah has a place to live, when the world, the whole world, not just us Yidden, even the Kayim, everything in the universe will revolve around the Beis HaMikdash, will revolve around Hashem. That's what Bayis Shlishi means. That world will be the greatest world of simcha, because there's no sveikus. And when there's no sveikus, ein simcha kataras asveikus, brings the greatest joy. So when we sit on the floor, and maybe we wonder for a moment, do we really need the Beis HaMikdash? Life is pretty good. I've got it okay. I'm having a nice life. I'm learning. I'm connecting to Hashem. Everything is really going in the right direction. And maybe we wonder, do we really need it? And maybe we wonder, Shabbos Chazon, we need clarity. We need vision. Really? Well, what do we need clarity about? I know what I'm doing. And we ask ourselves, I'm on fire. I'm not just the embers. I'm not just the ashes. No, I'm a blazing fire. We have to go back and realize, no, we're not. There's so much sveikus. Just, again, you could think of, and now with all those sveikus, you now could go back and realize that's, of course, what brings tragedy. That's, of course, what brings death. That's, of course, what brings war. Because Hashem doesn't have his home. So now you can have an Iran and an Eretz Yisrael and anti-Semitism. Where does it all come from? It all comes because the Shekhinah, unfortunately, is homeless. And when the Shekhinah is homeless, when Hashem is not the chassan at the chasana, there's so much lack of clarity. So Meretz Hashem, when we sit on the floor, what I always try to do when I sit on the floor is to go into your own little bubble, go into your own little world, to dig a little bit deeper into your own little neshama, and stop blocking out everything around you. And you hear Eicha, and you try to be a little bit more serious, and you think, Ki'ilu hech rivoi. We envision that we're going in and we're punching down with our own fist the walls of the Beis HaMikdash. We're going into the Kodesh HaKadosh and we're lighting it on fire, Rahman al-Litzlan. We don't want to do that. So how do we stop? How do we put out that fire? What do? We take those little embers, which is us, and we blow it a little bit. And how do we blow it? Is we have a little bit of clarity, because we have the chazu, we have the chazon, we have that vision. We have that crack of lightning. We have that moment that we realize what is real. And at that moment, like Rabbi Yisrael taught us, we can have the greatest clarity of all. So let's utilize the words of the Maggid Mizrich when we go into Shabbos and we realize the chazu, that clarity. Let's capitalize on it. Let's try a little bit deeper. And who's to know? Kilu achrivai. No. Maybe this will be the year. And how many times have we heard it's all lined up? It's all waiting. It's all there. Okay. So now's the time. Now's the time. Now's the time to say we could do it. We could be those people with just one little bit. And Mirza Hashem will get there.